Amen. Amen. This week, well, a special treat that Brother Clinton would be sharing. So I'm gonna turn it over to Clinton now. Clinton, can you unmute your mic and just begin to share. If you want to share a screen as well, can go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Pastor, and thank you for all of those beautiful songs. All right, I'm doing my message today is on can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. How great, oh, how great is our God? Most people think miracles when most people think of miracles, they think of big, flashy, attention-grabbing events of impossibility, like someone being healed or turning water into wine, or being cured of a disease, or turning or making a small amount of food feed a large amount of people. What a lot of people don't think about or realize is that there are tiny miracles happening every day. The miracle of eyes. How great is our God? The miracle of the eye. For those of you who don't know, Charles Darwin was the scientist who came up with the theory of evolution. And Charles Darwin described the eye as the greatest challenge to his theory, because the eye is simply incompatible with evolution. It doesn't make sense logically. He said, to suppose he admitted that the eye, with all its inimitable contrivances, could have been formed by natural selection seems, I freely confess, absurd in the highest degree. Matthew 6, verse 22 says, the lamp of the body is the eye. The human eye possesses 130 million light-sensitive rods and cones that convert light into chemical impulses, and these impulses travel at a rate of 1 billion per second to the brain. if 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 even a single component didn't function perfectly, nothing would work at all. Think about that. Partial transitional structures are no aid to a creature's survival and may even be a hindrance. If they are a hindrance, no further gradual development would occur because the creature would, according to the advocates of natural selection, be less apt to survive than the other creatures around him. What good is half a wing or an eye without a retina? Either such structures as feathered wings must have appeared all at once, either by absurdly implausible massive mutations or by creation. See, logically, from a standpoint of evolution, eyes at all don't make sense. Because every part couldn't have been formed all at once. It would have had to gradually gotten more complex. And if it were any less complex than it is now, it wouldn't work. A French researcher has said that if if the slightest thing goes wrong on a route, if the cornea is fuzzy or the pupils fail to dilate or the lens becomes opaque or the focusing goes wrong, then a recognizable image is not formed. The eye either functions as a whole or not at all. Incredible as the eye is, consider that we have not one but two of them. This matched pair, coupled with an interpretive center in the brain, allows us to determine distances to the objects we see. So with only one eye, you wouldn't be able to see or understand how far away or how close an object was. And our eyes have the ability to focus automatically by elongating or compressing themselves. Now really think about that. All those tiny 170 million cones and tubes automatically elongate or compress anytime you walk into a bright room or a dark room or blink. That 170 million little cones and tubes compress or elongate. And if anything goes wrong, if any single one of those tubes or cones elongates too much or not enough, then you can't see. Eyes are a miracle. Sight is a miracle. The same can be said of the brain, nose, palate, and dozens of other complex and highly developed organs in any human being or animal. It would take a quantum leap of faith to think all of this just evolved, yet that is commonly taught and accepted. It doesn't just all of those tiny things working together on their own perfectly every single time is a miracle. That's how great our God is. How great is our God? Miracles hold us together. Now, what holds us together exactly? On the right there is a diagram of a protein molecule called laminin. Now, I'm going to ask a question, and feel free to answer it. What would you say laminin looks like? What is it in the shape of? Anyone?
I have no idea. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, no. Looks like a cross to me.
Yeah, a cross. Look, see? Top, sides across, and down. That looks like a cross.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see.
But a diagram isn't always exactly what a molecule looks like, right? So I'm going to show you a picture of the actual molecule. Now, I know it's going to be small, but you're going to have to look real hard. Now, what would you say that molecule looks like? What is it in the shape of? It's a little bit
Wow.
slanted, but what would you say it looks like?
A cross.
Elongated cross.
Yeah, a cross. And that teeny tiny cross is in nearly every cell of your body. Now, a molecule is a cell is made of atoms, and atoms are made of molecules, and that's a molecule. Okay, so it's the smallest thing a thing can be. Okay, laminin are a major constituent of the basement membrane, which is a thin layer of specialized extracellular matrix. Now that is a thin layer around each cell. Very, very thin. It surrounds the epithelia and the endothelia, and the epithelia are the skin cells in your epidermis, your uppermost layer of skin. All the skin you can see and touch on you is epidermis and made of epithelia cells. And endothelia are the cells that make up your endodermis, and that's the layers of skin underneath the top layers. So every layer of your skin, your muscles cells, every strand and fiber of muscle, your fat cells, which are important, they help keep you warm and nourished in time of emergency. Your Schwann cells, and those are the cells that make up the neurons in your brain. Neurons firing is how thoughts are formed. So the cells that let you make thoughts, your peripheral nerves and the entire central nervous system. Nerves are what allow you to feel things, sensations, and pain. All of those cells have laminin in them. Now, what laminin does is it's very important in cell adhesion. That means keeping your cells together. So that cross is literally in every cell of your body, keeping you intact, keeping you from falling apart, cell by cell, atom by atom, molecule by molecule. Without laminin, you would literally blow away in the wind. That's how great God is. He holds you together on a molecular level. How great is our God? Omnipotent and omnipresent. Okay. Now I want you all to do your best and imagine. Close your eyes if it helps. Imagine being in two places at once. It can even be in the same room. But try hard to imagine being in two places at once. Seeing and feeling and breathing in two places at once. Try really hard to imagine that, okay? I'll wait for a second. Okay. And now, I bet that was either very difficult or impossible to imagine being and feeling and breathing in two places at once. God is everywhere at once, omnipresent. Everywhere. He's in every cell of your body and everything there is. He fills the entirety of the vast, nearly infinite cosmos. Now, omnipotent or omnipotent. Now try and imagine, again, close your eyes if it helps. Imagine being able to do any one thing you can think of. It can be literally anything. Turning a rock into ice cream, lifting a building, anything you want. Now, imagine that one thing. I'll wait for a second again. Pause. So you all can imagine it. What you would do if you could do any one thing. You got it? Okay. Now, I'd imagine at least some of you, and I'm not going to ask who, that would have that one thing as maybe a silly thing or a selfish thing that would help you or your loved ones. And that's just the power to do any one thing. God has the power to do all things, omnipotent. He created the stars and planets and with the breath of his mouth. And you know he's that powerful. And he used that power to give you eyes so you can see and to hold your cells together so you don't blow away. That's what God did. That's how great our God is. How great is our God? Lord, Master, and Creator of the universe. People don't often think about or know just how big God is and how big the universe really is. So I'm going to play a few videos to give you some idea of just how big everything is. Okay?
We are here tonight to worship a huge, massive God of grace and glory. The story opens like this. In case you forgot, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and he said, let there be light, and there was light. And that was a phenomenal moment when that happened, because light came out of the mouth of God traveling 186,000 miles a second. There's an image of it for you, by the way. It's a little more fierce than we often think. It's 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface, but what I want you to see about it is how big it is. It's 93 million miles away, so when you're looking up at it in the sky, it's pretty good pace out there. By the way, light traveling 186,000 miles a second, it's only taken 8 minutes to cover that 93 million mile journey to touch your skin here in Atlanta, Georgia. But what I want you to see is the size of it. It's like 1,000,000 times the size of the earth, and that matters to us tonight when you hear what the psalmist said. Listen to his words. By the word of the Lord, this is Psalm 33, the heavens were made. In other words, God didn't lift a finger when he made the universe. By the word of the Lord, the heavens were made. But he goes on to say, their starry hosts by the breath of his mouth. So we're looking at something so intense that we don't want to get any closer than 93 million miles away, which is what we are right now. And then we read that God just breathes out stars. It's crazy to think about it. 1,000,000 times the size of the earth. So here's a little perspective that sort of changed my life. If the earth were the size of a golf ball, okay, the sun would be 15 feet in diameter. Okay, that didn't seem to move anybody either, so let me try it a different way. Let me just try it just a different way. I thought I might need this, so I brought a golf ball, okay? So all through the evening, this is going to represent Earth, all right? So this is where we are. I need everybody in the building to look as closely as you can and find yourself, okay? And when you found yourself, I want you to nod your head so that I know you've located you on the earth, okay? You're nodding your head? Okay, you found yourself. If the earth were a golf ball, the sun would be 15 feet in diameter. That's not 15 feet diameter. Can we blow that up just a hair, maybe give them 15 feet diameter? So here's a little perspective for you, okay? Is this working for anybody? Here we are on the earth, and that's the sun. It's so big. It's so big, you could put 960,000 Earths inside the sun. So if the Earth were a golf ball and the sun were 15 feet in diameter, you could put 960,000 golf balls inside that 15-foot diameter sun. That's enough golf balls, by the way, because I know that seems like a big number, to fill a school bus with golf balls could fit inside the 15-foot diameter sun. It's a massive star, and it's one of hundreds of billions of stars in the Milky Way galaxy, our cul-de-sac in the neighborhood called the cosmos that God has made. I love science, and science has just brought us the largest star they found. It's called, are you ready for this? Canis Majoris. Now, I'm no linguist, but that's a cool name for the biggest star we've found so far. I think that means the big dog star, and that's exactly what it is. I bring it to you as a little bitty purple, glow just to the right of center there. But Canis Majoris, oh wow, if the Earth were a golf ball, Canis Majoris would be the height of Mount Everest. Almost 6 miles above sea level, the highest point on the planet, and I just dare you to get up there and unzip the parka and pull out your golf ball. You could fit 7 quadrillion Earths inside Canis Majoris. That's enough Earths, if the Earth were a golf ball, to cover the entire state of Texas in golf balls, 22 inches deep. You see the one you're on? Maybe this will help a little bit more. This absolutely blew my mind. Just a little journey through our solar system. Everyone knows our planets and sort of how we fit in to the story here. You see really quickly that we're not even the biggest deal in our own solar system, but as Earth comes by, you have to know tonight that we are living on a privileged planet. Anyone would tell you we're living at one of the most special places, if not the most special place in all of creation. But Neptune comes by and Saturn and then Jupiter, and you're like, okay, we're not all that big, even in our own little cul-de-sac. I just noticed the blue dot fading away is not the Earth. That's Neptune. The Earth has gotten too small to see anymore. Sirius comes by. Little plug for satellite radio. Not the biggest star, but the brightest star that we have found so far. Pollux, which we didn't mention. Arcturus. Such a beautifully named one, Regal. But then the one that messed me up. Our third star was Cepheid. Cephei's cousin, W. Cepheid. Canis Majoris. And do you know that you couldn't come up here right now with a Sharpie and make a mark on the screen that would approximate the size of our sun? You couldn't even do it. I mean, when you look at these in their relative size, we just have to put a little arrow over there that says, if you could put the sun on here, which you can't, it would go somewhere about here. And can you hang on that for me? And when you see this, I don't know what happens to you, but I'll tell you what happens to me. A shrinking feeling comes over me, and it's not a bad shrinking feeling. It's a good shrinking feeling. Because sin, it has a way of shrinking God down in our minds and puffing us up in our own estimation. But just a glance into the universe that God has made resizes everything in a heartbeat. And you realize tonight we are worshiping an unrivaled, uncontested God of all kind of might and power and glory and awe, there's none like him anywhere in all of creation tonight.
That's one. And here's the second one.
Yeah. But we are here tonight to worship. This is an amazing thought. A God who is indescribable. You say, well, how do you know that? All you have to do is walk outside on a dark night and look up into the sky, and you will know when you look up that this God we're worshiping tonight is beyond our wildest dream. The scripture says, by the word of the Lord, the heavens were made. The starry host by the breath of his mouth. We live in a little subdivision in the universe called the Milky Way Galaxy. In case you didn't know, that's where you live. Some of you are thinking you live in Shady Grove. No, you're living in the Milky Way Galaxy. That's your subdivision in the universe, a very big universe that we have to use something called a light year to get around in. You say, well, what's a light year? Well, that's how fast light travels in 1 year. And we know it's flying 186,000 miles a second. So if light goes 186,000 miles a second for a whole year, it goes 5.88 trillion miles in a year. And that's the measurement, or one of the main measurements we use to get around in the universe that God has created. That's how big it is. The foot, not going to help you in God's universe. The yard, of no value to you whatsoever in God's universe. The mile, insignificant. The kilometer, Matt, not going to help you getting around in God's universe. We have to use a ruler that is 5.88 trillion miles long to measure things in God's universe. And our home subdivision, the Milky Way Galaxy, just came into being. It consists of billions of stars. Just our subdivision, the Milky Way Galaxy. Not hundreds, not millions, not hundreds of millions. Billions of stars in our home subdivision, the Milky Way Galaxy. And scientists say that there are hundreds of billions of other subdivisions and galaxies in the known universe. This shot is where we live. It's a little snapshot of the Milky Way Galaxy. If you zoom into this star-forming region, see something pretty amazing. This particular shot is a close-up of a star-forming region in our subdivision, taken by a friend of ours named Dr. David Block, who's an astronomer down at Wits University in Johannesburg, South Africa. And we were down there a few months ago, and he was telling us that if we were to count the billions of stars in the Milky Way Galaxy, 1 star per second. So if we just started with any one of these, I don't know which one you want to pick. Let's just start with this one right here. And because I can reach it. And we start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That looks like 1, but I'm close enough to see it's 2 that are close together. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's go back over here. 12. You're like, oh, please don't count them all. If we counted all the stars in our subdivision 1 per second, it would take 2,500 years just to count the stars in the Milky Way Galaxy. And God says about himself, you want to know how the universe is telling us that God is big? Through the prophet Isaiah, he says, to whom will you compare me? And who is my equal, says the Holy One. Lift your eyes to the heavens. Who created all of these? And then he answers for himself. The one who leads forth the starry host one by one and calls them each by name. Because of his mighty strength and great power, not one of them is missing. If you want to get a glimpse of it, here's a composite shot of our subdivision, the Milky Way Galaxy. It's taken by combining hundreds of thousands of photographs. Obviously, we haven't managed to get outside of the Milky Way Galaxy to take a picture of it, but NASA folks are pretty sure that's what it looks like. It has a barred nucleus. It's a barred spiral galaxy. And you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's 100,000 light years across. So if you want to go visit your neighbors on the other side of the subdivision, you just have to go 186,000 miles a second for 100,000 years, and boom, you're at their house. In our little neighborhood home called the Milky Way Galaxy. You say, well, where are we? I'm looking for us on there. You know, we got to be right in the center, obviously. I'm sure we're right there in that middle. No, we, believe it or not, we're not even in the center of our own subdivision, okay? So affirming again tonight, it's not about you and it's not about me. We don't even live in the center of our own subdivision, and you don't want to live in the center of the subdivision because it's scary in the center of the subdivision. You say, well, where do we live? Well, we live way out between a couple of the spiral arms. You don't want to live in there either because that's dangerous territory inside the bands. We live in that little clear zone between a couple of the bands, about 2/3 of the way out. We're living somewhere about there. And you're like, well, I don't see me. No. Because we couldn't put a mark on the diagram that you could see that would be the right relative size to our solar system. You know, that's our little cul-de-sac in the subdivision, that we couldn't even put our solar system on here in relative size to the Milky Way Galaxy for you to see. It's that small inside the Milky Way Galaxy. Scientists say our solar system is the size of a quarter, and the Milky Way Galaxy is the size of the North American continent. So our whole solar system is a quarter and the size of an area as big as the North American continent. We're not that consequential in our own subdivision called the Milky Way Galaxy. And somewhere in there is a star, one of these billions of stars. It's not the biggest, the baddest, the brightest. It's just one of the stars of the billions of stars. We call it the sun, and around it tonight are orbiting these balls, one of which is called Earth. It's our home. That's you and me. No, I'm not trying to make you feel small. I'm trying to help you see that you are small. But it's significant insignificance. Because as tiny as we are known and prized by Majesty, who sent for us and loves us and knows us, even though we are teeny tiny little bitty people on a little bitty speck floating through the vast cosmos that he has made. Just like he could name every star as he called them into being and put them in their places. He could start in this building tonight all the way up in the top with you right there, and he could call you by your name, and he could move to you and call you by your name and you by your name, and the great creator of all the heavens and the earth could move through this auditorium and call every single person in this building by name tonight. He knows us and is aware of us and loves us and has come to invite us into a relationship with him that will never ever end.
That's how great our God is. That's how big our God is. Well, an idea anyway. He fills and is all of that space. And he created all that with a word. He's that powerful and still loves each of you. He's everywhere at once. Created everything from the molecules to the stars to the galaxies to the universe. And he loves you. He loves you enough to give you eyes to see, and loves you enough to hold you together piece by piece. He loves you enough to make himself, his son, one of you, one of us. To feel like us, to live like us. To be hungry and thirsty and weak and tiny like us, and experience life like us. And be beaten for us, and be whipped for us, be mocked and spat on and humiliated for us, and to walk naked through town and trails hanging out for us, to be nailed to a tree, back peeled, and trails, now out trails, on a cross, and die and take our sins for us. He did that for all of us, and for each of us by name.